KCP says that the Denver Nuggets might have needed to adjust what they did at the end of the season this last year. Suggests that it was fatigue that should have cost them versus the Lakers, but ultimately cost them versus the Minnesota Timberwolves in the 7-game series they lost. Ryan Blackburn, Swipe Cam here to talk Mile High Sport basketball with y'all. So, look, man, we talk about this ad nauseum, bro. Like, we talked about what they should have done at the end of the season. Was it good they were sprinting through the season? And then now hearing apparently a couple of players now at this point mention the fact that they were tired at the end of the year, and KCP going as far as to say he thinks the Lakers should have beat them given where they were. Do you feel like this was an indictment on what happened at the end of the year, or more so we should have just rethought our strategy some?
It's fascinating to think about it. The first takeaway that I had from that was like, yeah, the Lakers, like they probably should have won one more game than they actually did against the Nuggets. Like probably should have they did put up a fight, but in the end, it didn't really matter because you just knew how that series was going to go. But yeah, like I totally agree. Denver was down in every single one of those games. They did not bring the requisite burst, the requisite like emphasis and energy that they were hoping to bring that they had done the previous year. In 2023. 2024, Denver had to kind of go hard through the finish line, and there was a lot of crediting for it. Like after the All-Star break, Nikola Jokic sends out that text message that becomes a storyline because Denver really they're powering through, they're winning all these games, they're playing really well, and then they continue to play hard, and they continue to play hard for a long time, all the way up through the end of the season, game 82. And I do agree with him that really affected Denver, and it's just too bad that is now becoming a storyline again.
Do you feel like when you think about the season, do you feel like this is a true lost season? That, we had the Jokic, MVP years, but then Murray was hurt, then Murray and MPJ were hurt. Do you feel like this is the first true like lost season, given the fact that they, honestly, they matched up with the Mavericks and then matched up with the Celtics, we could be having a completely different discussion.
Yeah, I would say first true season that they failed, where they failed the goal. Every single season before then, it was either affected by injury, they won a championship, or it was just part of their rise, part of their ultimate development when they were younger. This one, they had championship expectations. They had everybody like mostly healthy at the end of the season. Nobody was missing games, and they still fell short of the goal. They're up 20 in Game 7 in the second round. And so, of course, it's a failing. It's absolutely a failing for them. And we can sit back here and debate what they should have done differently. KCP's comments now come to light where, yeah, they probably should not have gone so hard at the end of the season fighting for seeding. And yet I can understand the team's perspective of wanting to like showcase, hey, we're the defending champions. We are a team that needs to be feared. Like we want to get a top seed in the playoffs because we want home court advantage because that's the way that they won the previous year. I think more than anything, it's probably just a learning experience for how to do this going forward.
Right. Yeah, that. And I think, Malone, he's still developing. He's a coach, the same way as a player. He gets better every year. Yeah. And I do think that strategy-wise, like the Nuggets just have to be comfortable. They're kind of in that LeBron Cleveland stage where it's like 4th seed, 3rd seed. It don't matter. We play you in the playoffs. We're going to beat you. And I think that's kind of has to be the mentality. And Jokic, maintaining his body, playing 72 games maybe instead of 79 games, and just allowing for the end of the year, you're not coasting through it, but you're just not pushing. That way you get into these playoffs and you just have the energy. Because Jokic, even in the first round, you could just tell his defensive energy just wasn't the same. But again, they played all the way through June last year. Then they had then they got an Olympic this year. But here's the thing. I actually don't think Olympic basketball and stuff affects you a lot based on what I've heard from the players. Like that's just like its own standalone thing. It's more so in-season maintenance. That is the biggest thing. Could you play 82 games over 9 months basically? And it's just the amount of stuff you put on your body from preseason through the regular season. So I think it's just more maintenance, more communication, and listening to the fact that my body's telling me I need to step away. Jamal, this summer for him is important, making sure he's taking care of his body, making sure he's in shape, and that way he can endure a long NBA season, and then also elevate his game. But, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther, like it was going to be Deron Holmes, but Blacko Chanchar, like those players all have to play, and they are young. Those are the players that have to carry a lot of the load. Jokic is 29, Murray's 27. MPJ got to carry some load. He's 26 years old. AG's 20. He'll be 29 as well this year, but he's 28 right now. Like, the older players, they just have to be able to maintain their body so they can maintain a productive level of play going into the playoffs, and then they can also accelerate when they need to. And I think that's what Denver needs to build into his timetable this year, like an accelerant period where, okay, we've gotten to this point. Everybody's good to go. We know what our maximum value is. We know what a dominant run looks like for us. Okay, but shut it down. And then by the time the playoffs start, you're as close to 100% as possible.
100%. And a couple things there. I don't think Denver has anything really that they need to prove during the regular season. Nobody like Jokic has won 3 MVPs. Maybe Murray has something to prove during the regular season. Like, you'd want to see him make an all-star game. You want to see him hit the ground running a little bit. But Michael Porter just played 81 games, and the 82nd game, he probably could have played it. Aaron Gordon has played a heavy load of games, and now you've got young guys like Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strother that will be at the center of things. Russell Westbrook's been in this league for a long time. He'll, of course, be helping Denver out through the regular season. But the regular season's not where their bread is buttered anymore. It is the playoffs. It's making sure that you are geared up for that. And I just can't imagine a world where playing 75 to 80 games for each of Murray, Porter, Gordon, Jokic is a good idea. I think that Denver should be taking 3, 4, 5 extra losses in order to ensure that they are ready to go at the end of the year. There's nothing that they need to push for anymore. Okay, do you think that you could beat Minnesota in Minnesota next year? Yes, because they won game 3 and game 4. Do you think that you need to outpace the OKC Thunder? It's going to be hell to play there no matter what, but you've gone on the road places before and been just fine. So I just don't think it's a very important factor that Denver has to really factor in going forward. They just got to make sure that they're a top 6 seed, not necessarily 1 or 2.
They lost 3 games at home versus the Wolves. That just doesn't happen. That's incredulous. So that's what I mean. That was such an anomaly for me, bro, that if you're coming into Denver and you're beating Denver that much, and Denver is they just don't look like they can turn the engine on, that's all problematic. So I do think their strategy changes. I think this is what I'm saying. Russell Westbrook, Julian Strother, Peyton Watson, Vlatko Čančar, Zeke Naji, Dario Saric, and then maybe Trey Alexander. They're going to have a real important role this year because they're going to have to make sure that they're playing well enough and enough minutes by Malone. That way they can carry into the playoffs and do what needs to be done. So, we'll find out, Ron.
It's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how Denver does approach this season, whether Michael Malone changes up his rotations a little bit because I think one of the reasons why the starters were so gassed was because he was so not dependent on the bench guys. He was very dependent on the starters. That's got to change too. And it's a part of a larger conversation on how to build rotations. I've talked about it on my show before. What you're going to do with guys like Christian Brown now that he's elevating into a KCP role. But I'm very curious to see how he handles it this upcoming season, because that could make or break the Nuggets. It is no small thing. And it's not all entirely on Michael Malone. Everybody's got to buy in. If you're planning on resting some guys, or if you're planning on playing Aaron Gordon 22 minutes in a game because you feel like you need some extra rest, everybody's got to buy into that, man. It's important for the long-term view.
Yeah. Y'all, what do you think? Let us know in the comment section here at Mile High Sports YouTube channel. Do you think that the Nuggets need to change their strategy up going into this year? And if you could put a win-loss total expectation, what would that number be for you to know that they played really well over the course of the season, but they also didn't push themselves too far? Y'all, this is Swipa. That's Ryan, Mile High Sports. See y'all on the other side.